sweeties, my name is Janae and this is Astro Maverick Astrology. Today's video is all about Uranus moving into the sign of Taurus. And of course, in honor of Taurus, I'm wearing my Taurus sweatshirt today. There are already so many videos by so many different awesome astrologers going into the specifics of what Taurus will mean, of what Uranus and Taurus will mean for you specifically, based on which house this transit will be taking place in. But I did not want to be redundant, so I decided to take a more general, mundane approach to this discussion. Uranus and Taurus covers a lot of different topics, so I thought it would be wise of me to break things down a little, and so I made this into 3 parts. Part 1, this one, we will be discussing food and environment. Part 2, we'll be discussing banking and finance, and part 3 will be all about the internet and internet culture. And I had so many thoughts about all of these things that I couldn't just make videos about them. I also had to write articles. So if you're interested in reading the articles, they will go a bit more in depth than these videos, and you know, they will all be available on my Facebook page. So if you want to skip ahead to parts 2 and 3 before those videos come out, you can always feel free just to go check my Facebook page, Astro Maverick Astrology, pretty easy to find, and you can read the articles there. Now let's just jump into it. Oh my god, I've always wanted to say that on video. So yes, Uranus. What is Uranus? Uranus is the planet of social change and activism. It is innovation and invention, and it is a radical change that you don't see coming. But of course, astrology gives us a little teeny bit of foresight with these things, so maybe perhaps we will be seeing some of these changes. And the sign of Taurus, for the sake of this video, is food and environment. And when we think of Taurus, a Taurus just stuffing their face with stuff, you know, they're not stuffing their face with, you know, kale and lettuce. Taurus is the meat and potatoes type of food. So emphasis on the meat part. So the meat industry. Oh, meat industry, you ain't gonna see what's coming. Yeah, you know, lately there have been kind of for a while now, there have been lots of issues with the meat industry, and you know, I think it's fair to say that they have been largely ignored by, you know, the bigger population. And I think people are going to start waking up to not being comfortable with ignoring that problem anymore. You know, because there's a reason you ask what's in a hot dog once and then never think about it again. Because it's not pleasant. There are so many different things about the meat industry that are unpleasant and actually harmful to the environment especially, and to us, and it's not gonna fly for much longer. People are gonna start getting really upset and protesting and enter activism against the meat industry. And you already see this a little bit. It has kind of been a fringe part of society with, you know, vegans and vegetarians. But usually when you ask someone who does have a vegan or vegetarian diet why they chose to adopt that diet, common answers were, you know, it's for the animals, or it's for health reasons. But I think a more popular reason, or a more popular answer that people will start to say is, you know, meat is literally destroying our environment. So I wanted to do my part to prevent that from happening as much as possible. And as more and more people become up in arms about the damage that meat is doing to our environment, you know, the meat industry will have to react and adapt and hopefully improve to keep up with, you know, all this pressure. So technology in terms of creating cleaner meat, more humane meat, those are things we should expect. There's lots of talk about lab-grown meat, which of course does no harm to animals, but which is still, you know, kind of weird to think about. But honestly, what is more Uranus and Taurus than meat, consumable meat, that is grown in a laboratory? That's pretty Uranus and Taurus to me. And kind of along these lines of scientific food, I think, you know, more research on GMOs is gonna come out. I don't necessarily know if GMOs are bad for you or if they're good, or, you know, there's not enough research on that. So I think the research around that is going to, well, there will be more research around the effects of genetically modified food. Overall, I think more people will just start to pay attention and become more like socially aware of, you know, the sustenance they're putting in their bodies, because Uranus is a very socially aware planet. So when it goes into the sign that rules our food, you know, we're gonna start thinking a little bit differently about how we consume things. And one thing I forgot to mention while I was talking about vegan and vegetarianism and how I suspect those will become more and more popular diets, it's not going to be like an extreme thing per se, but you know how currently there's like, oh, it's Meatless Monday, I'm gonna go this whole day without eating meat products, or oh, I decided to go a week without eating meat. I think we'll start to get a little bit better about that, and in my heart I really want like Meatless May to be a thing, because May is just the month of Taurus, and so if we had Meatless May, I think that would be like so perfect for Uranus and Taurus. But I just wanted to say that so I can say that I said it first, so when it happens I can take all the credit. But Meatless May, it's going to be a thing by 2026. I cannot guarantee, but I really hope so. And shifting this conversation over onto the environmental side of things, as I mentioned before, the mass-produced meat industry is not the best for our environment. And so, you know, that environmental factor is going to be a huge driving force that pushes us toward change, because, you know, the health of our environment, or maybe the state of our environment is what I should say, the state of our environment is going to become a lot more important to us on a collective level. And, you know, the state of our environment is going to become a lot harder to ignore. Because if you think about last year, when Uranus moved into Taurus before, you know, it retrograded back into Aries, but when that initial ingress happened, we saw massive earthquakes, you know, enormous exploding volcanoes everywhere, and unfortunately I think that these extreme climate events are just going to become kind of a commonplace thing unless we actually start to take our climate seriously. So, you know, if there's some natural disaster every other week, I think, you know, people might start to accept that, human behavior does indeed have an effect on the environment, which I am strongly hoping for. But yeah, it's going to be so much harder for the people in power, cough cough, politicians of a certain party in America, cough cough, to, you know, not address these issues, or to, you know, put policies into place that actively damage our environment, or reverse, you know, measures that were put into place to protect our environment. You know, that's happening and people are unhappy about that. But with Uranus moving into Taurus, you know, the protests are gonna happen. People are gonna get a lot more upset and will be willing to demonstrate their unhappy feelings. So as people become more environmentally conscious, I think, you know, how we choose to spend our money on things, which, you know, I will go into more on the finance and banking section of this series. But, you know, the products we buy, I think we'll see a trend more towards natural products, or locally sourced products, or homemade and homegrown products, because those things are all better for the environment, and honestly, they tend to be a bit higher quality. And of course, Taurus loves the quality stuff. But yeah, this is just not as deep as the article, so if you want to go deeper into this topic, like I said, Facebook page is where it's at, and you can also find the other 2 articles there. And like I just mentioned, part 2 will be finance and banking, and part 3 will be internet and internet culture. But anyways, you already knew that. Why did I repeat myself? But yeah, so go check those out if you're interested, or just wait for part 2 and part 3 videos, which will be coming very soon. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.